Picture this. You're standing on a vast dusty plain at dawn. The wind scrapes dry earth across your boots. Far away, thousands of shields glitter. The Macedonian army advances in tight silence. 47,000 soldiers move like iron machinery. Long sarissas tilt forward above locked shields. Each pike stretches nearly 18 feet. A young phalangite whispers, "Keep the points level." Soldier adjusts the heavy bronze helmet. Dust drifts across the morning line. Across the plain waits the Persian Empire. Their vast numbers darken the horizon. Cavalry banners snap in the pale wind. A scout rides hard toward Alexander. His horse foams with sweat. Persian chariots forming fast, he gasps. Officers glance toward the distant dust wall. Somewhere beyond stands mighty King Darius. His army may reach 250,000. A veteran mutters beside the shield wall. "Gods," he says, "that is half Asia." The line keeps moving forward anyway. Armor clinks softly with each step. Leather straps creak under heads. The companion cavalry waits on the right. 7,000 elite horsemen watch quietly. Their commander studies the Persian center. Alexander sits calm in the saddle. His cloak snaps behind polished armor. An officer leans slightly closer now. Their line stretches forever, whispers. Alexander keeps watching the distant king. "Numbers break eventually," he says quietly. The wind rises across Gaugamela plain. Dust rolls slowly between both armies. Persian chariots shift into attack lines. Blades flash from their spinning axles. A Macedonian archer squints quietly downrange. "Wait, steady men now," he murmurs. The massive armies close the distance slowly. Hooves rumble somewhere beyond the dust. No one speaks about fear today. But everyone feels the weight now. History waits on this silent field. A Persian horn echoes across the plain. The phalanx halts for a breath. Soldiers lock shields tighter now. A captain walks the front rank. "Hold formation," he says quietly. Wood and bronze form a forest. Across the field, Persian drums begin. A Macedonian boy grips his spear harder. He whispers toward the veteran beside him. "First battle?" The veteran asks. "Stay behind the shield wall." The veteran taps the bronze rim. Alexander raises one gloved hand. Trumpets answer from the right flank. Companion cavalry shifts forward slightly. Persian chariots finally start rolling. Morning spreads across the wide plain of Gaugamela. Persian banners ripple in the growing wind. Thousands of soldiers wait beneath the rising sun. At the center stands the royal carriage. King Darius III watches the horizon. Gold armor glints against the pale light. Servants hold the tall royal standard. Persian courtiers stand beside the king. Their voices carry confident laughter. One noble points toward the distant dust. "Macedonians are still marching," he says. Another shrugs calmly. "They are barely 40,000, he replies. The king says nothing yet. His eyes remain fixed forward. Across the field waits the Persian host. Infantry ranks stretch nearly beyond sight. Horsemen crowd the open wings. Officers ride between massive formations. Drums beat slow commands through the army. Messengers gallop with fresh orders. A Persian general studies the left flank. His aide leans close to speak. "Our numbers crush them today." Behind him stand the Immortals. 10,000 elite Persian guards. Silver shields catch the early sunlight. One immortal captain tightens his helmet strap. "We end this today," he mutters. His men stand perfectly still. Far away, another rider arrives breathless. He slides from his horse quickly. Dust covers his cloak. He kneels before a Persian officer. "Villages," he says. The officer frowns slightly. "What messages?" "Greek scouts everywhere along the river." The officer hesitates briefly, then waves the warning away. There are always scouts. Orders continue moving through the camp. But some reports never reach the king. The chain of command slows everything. Beyond the Persian lines stands Alexander. His army advances in disciplined silence. 47,000 soldiers march together. A Macedonian officer studies the enemy line. "Gods," he whispers quietly. They cover the entire horizon. Another officer speaks beside him. But their flanks stretch thin. Alexander watches the distant king calmly. He nods once toward the field. Then that is where we strike. Across the plain, Persian horns suddenly echo. Thousands of soldiers shift into formation. Dust lifts into the morning sky, and the ground between both armies grows smaller. Night rain had soaked the plains of Gaugamela. Now the ground looked flat and harmless. But the soil held hidden danger. Thin mud clung to every boot. Wheels carved deep tracks through damp earth. Some Persian chariots already struggled moving. A driver jumped down beside one axle. He wiped thick mud from the wheel. "This ground drags the horses," he muttered. Another driver tested the soil nearby. His boot sank slightly into the dirt. He glanced toward the distant Macedonians. Officers continued forming the attack lines. Thousands of chariots waited behind infantry ranks. Blades gleamed from their spinning hubs. Persian engineers had worked all night. They cleared stones across the battlefield. They flattened large sections of the plain. But the rain changed everything. Soft patches field. Hidden marshy ground remained untouched. One general rode along the chariot rows. "Keep them ready," he ordered sharply. "The king wants speed today." Far across the plain, Macedonian scouts returned. Their horses moved carefully through the mud. One rider approached Alexander quietly. "The ground is soft ahead," he reported. Chariot lanes narrow between ridges. Alexander dismounted beside a low rise. He studied the field in silence. Dust drifted slowly across sunlight. Small ridges cut across the plain. Shallow depressions filled with wet soil. The terrain formed natural corridors. A companion cavalry officer stepped closer. "You see something?" he asked. Alexander pointed toward the ground lines. "The chariots must pass through here." His finger traced a narrow path. Another officer leaned in beside him. "That limits their charge." Alexander nodded once. "Exactly." The Macedonian line adjusted slowly. Phalanx units shifted position across the plain. Cavalry waited near the openings. Across the field, Persian commanders noticed nothing. Alexander signals his phalanx to shift slightly. The formation leans oblique, one flank appearing weak. Officers glance nervously at the unusual angle. Companion cavalry waits nearby, horses stamping in place. 7,000 strong, they snort clouds of steam. Their riders grip reins tightly, eyes fixed ahead. Light infantry steps back slowly, retreating just enough. Dust rises from their slow pullback. Persian generals notice and misinterpret it. A young officer mutters beside Alexander. They think we're faltering. Alexander's eyes remain calm, scanning the enemy. He flicks his hands subtly. Elite units surge forward, unseen at first. The phalanx points long sarissas ahead. Twice the length of Persian spears, they jut outward. A Macedonian soldier grunts, adjusting the weight. The dense line advances methodically. Across the field, Persian chariots ready themselves. Their leaders hesitate, misreading the pullback. Horses shuffle in anticipation. Dust swirls between advancing lines. One immortal captain narrows his eyes. Something feels wrong, but he cannot pinpoint it. Cavalry edges forward along the narrow corridor. Spears and pikes form a moving forest. Alexander tilts slightly in the saddle, observing. Signals pass between ranks quietly. Every Macedonian unit moves with precision. Confusion begins to ripple through Persian lines. The apparent weakness draws the enemy closer. The trap tightens invisibly, faster than expected. Even experienced generals cannot anticipate the strike. Every step the Persians take feeds the Macedonians' hidden plan. Chaos waits for the right moment. Mud, dust, and the long shadow of sarissas combine into silent, lethal control. The small army orchestrates the battlefield flawlessly. Persian chariots roar across the muddy plain. 1,000 wheels churn thick earth violently. Horses snort, hooves slamming into soft ground. The Macedonian phalanx braces in tight squares. Spears jut outward, forming a bristling wall. Shields overlap, absorbing each approaching strike. Darius raises his hand sharply. "Advance," he commands, voice carrying across the field. His elite units surge forward confidently. Mud clings to wheels and hooves. Some chariots sink slightly, stalling abruptly. Elephants strain against heavy leather harnesses. Macedonian units pivot with exact precision. Their flanks adjust, absorbing pressure evenly. Dust swirls, masking movements of hidden cavalry. Fear flickers across Persian lines subtly. One general shouts orders, ignored by confused troops. Horses stumble in puddles. Riders struggle to maintain formation. Heavy cavalry funnels into narrow spaces. Bottlenecks form naturally against ridges and marshes. Momentum falters, despite the king's urging. A phalangite whispers beside his comrade. They expected weakness. They will find none. Spears point outward, steel glinting in pale sunlight. Macedonian cavalry edges around the rear. 7,000 riders circling silently, unseen. Every step of the Persians tightens the trap. A chariot tips violently, horses tumbling into mud. Soldiers scramble, weapons clanging against each other. The elite front hesitates, unsure how to proceed. Distant drums echo, signaling movement across the field. Chaos begins in fragmented pockets among Persian troops. Every forward step now increases danger exponentially. The phalanx remains unbroken, spears bristling. Alexander watches from the center calmly. He knows the jaws are closing completely. Companion cavalry surges forward, hooves sinking into soft mud. Mud and dust spray across their polished armor. 7,000 riders cut through Persian rear lines. Shouts echo as units break and scatter. The camera follows Immortals trying to regroup. Silver shields flash, but confusion spreads too fast. Archers take positions on higher ridges. Arrows streak across the hazy sky. Macedonian shields absorb each volley, moving steadily. Spears bristle like a moving wall. Every step of the phalanx keeps perfect form. Chaos crashes against disciplined steel relentlessly. A Persian general waves arms frantically. Hold the line, he shouts. Horses stumble in muddy depressions. Chariots grind to a halt. Macedonian javelins fly into the halted formations. Archers cover each immobilized unit silently. Dust rises, mixing with blood and sweat. The left flank collapses entirely around midday. Companion cavalry sweeps through broken lines. Horses trampling, riders striking, Immortals pushed backward. Distant trumpets signal further Macedonian maneuvers. Alexander watches calmly, eyes scanning all movement. Each Persian counterattack fails before fully forming. Soldiers struggle to hold formation in mud. Spears snap, shields dent, elephants panic. The field becomes a deadly corridor of chaos. Sun casts long shadows across the carnage. Macedonians advance methodically, relentless, unstoppable. Even elite Persian units cannot halt the tide. Every move Alexander anticipates perfectly. The trap closes like an iron fist. Victory edges nearer with each passing heartbeat. Persian infantry sinks into mud pits, armor dragging heavily. Soldiers cough, choke, struggling to lift their shields. Spears jut uselessly as men stagger forward. A phalangite whispers, watch them drown in mud. Heavy armor slows them. Macedonian units push relentlessly, blades piercing through the chaos. Each step drives enemies deeper into sticky earth. Elephants panic, trumpeting and spinning wildly. They trample their own men, crushing shields and spears. A companion cavalry rider shouts, keep the path clear. Chariots tip sideways, wheels buried in deep marshes. Horses strain, flailing helplessly against the sticky ground. 1,000 chariots trapped, an officer mutters. Archers fire from higher ridges, covering advancing infantry. Arrows pierce armor, picking off stragglers as dust and blood swirl. Low camera pans reveal elite Persian Immortals faltering in mud. 10,000 Immortals, whispers another Macedonian. They cannot hold against this choke, he adds quietly. Bodies pile atop each other, spears and sarissas protruding. Sun casts long shadows over carnage, turning mud to red. Persian losses climb between 40 and 50,000 men. Macedonian casualties remain minimal, roughly 1,500. Horses flounder while phalanxes push ever onward. Chariots, elephants, and elite units lie broken across the plain. Alexander moves calmly at the center, surveying the destruction. A companion cavalry officer leans forward. Persians are collapsing completely, he says. Only scattered pockets resist our advance. The field echoes with cries, metal clashing, and mud-sucking boots. Spears, shields, and bodies merge into a chaotic graveyard.